Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Miss Sada Bahar, your physics teacher. I hope you all are fine. Well, dear students, if you have any difficulty in any part of the physics topic, then feel free to ask from your respective physics teacher. So to move ahead, in our today's presentation, we will discuss some characteristics of sound. Dear students, all the characteristics of sound are mentioned on the first page of the presentation. So to proceed towards our topic, first of all, learning objectives of the lesson. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to list some characteristics of sound, define loudness of sound. Also list its factors, upon which loudness of sound depend, explain pitch with the help of examples. Define quality and intensity of sound. Differentiate between loudness and intensity of sound. Also derive its relationship. Describe intensity level of a sound, and differentiate between frequency and pitch. Question. Describe the characteristics of sound. Answer. Characteristics of sound. Sounds of different objects can be distinguished on the basis of different characteristics as described below. Loudness. Loudness is the characteristic of sound, by which loud and faint sounds can be distinguished. For example, when we talk to our friends, our voice is low, but when we address a public gathering, our voice is loud. Loudness of a sound depends upon a number of factors. Some of them are discussed below. A. Amplitude of the vibrating body. The loudness of the sound varies directly with the amplitude of the vibrating body. For example, the sound produced by a sitar will be loud if we pluck its wires more violently. Same with when we beat a drum forcefully. B. Area of the vibrating body. The loudness of sound also depends upon the area of the vibrating body. For example, sound produced by a large drum is louder than that by small one, because of its large vibrating area. C. Distance from the vibrating body. Loudness of sound also depends upon the distance of the vibrating body from the listener. D. Physical condition of the ears of the listener. Loudness also depends upon the physical condition of the ears of the listener. For example, a sound appears louder to a person with sensitive ears than to a person with defective ears. Pitch. Pitch is the characteristic of sound, by which we can distinguish between a shrill and a grave sound. It depends upon the frequency. A higher pitch means a higher frequency and vice versa. For example, the frequency of the voice of ladies and children is higher than that of men. Therefore, the voice of ladies and children is shrill and of high pitch. Quality. The characteristic of sound, by which we can distinguish between two sounds of same loudness and pitch, is called quality. Example, while standing outside a room, we can distinguish between the notes of a piano and a flute being played inside the room. This is due to the difference in the quality of these notes. Figure shows the waveform of the sound produced by a tuning fork, flute and clarinet. The loudness and the pitch of these three sounds are the same, but their waveforms are different, so their quality is different and they can be distinguished from each other. Intensity. Sound energy passing per second through a unit area, held perpendicular to the direction of propagation of sound waves, is called intensity of sound. The intensity of sound depends on the amplitude of sound wave. Mathematically, intensity is equal to sound energy divided by time into area unit. Its SI unit is joule per second per square meter, or watt per square meter. Question. What is the difference between the loudness and intensity of sound? Derive the relationship between the two. Answer: loudness is the characteristic of sound by which loud and faint sounds can be distinguished, whereas sound energy, passing per second, through a unit area held perpendicular to the direction of propagation of sound waves, is called intensity of sound. Loudness depends upon the physical condition of the ears of the listener, whereas intensity of sound depends upon the amplitude of sound waves but does not depend on the physical condition of the ears of the listener. Loudness is the magnitude of sensation produced in the ears by the sound, whereas intensity of sound is a physical quantity which can be measured. Its unit is watt per square meter. Relationship between loudness and intensity of sound. Loudness L of a sound is directly proportional to the logarithm of intensity I. L, proportional to log I, or L, is equal to K log I. Question: on what factors does the loudness of sound depend? Answer: loudness of a sound depends on the following factors. 1. Amplitude of vibrating body. 2. Area of vibrating body. 3. Distance from the vibrating body. 4. Physical condition of the ears of the listener. Question: what do you mean by the term intensity level of the sound? Name and define the unit of intensity level of sound. Answer: intensity level of sound. The difference between the loudness of an unknown sound, L, and the loudness of faintest audible sound, L, naught, is called intensity level of the sound. Mathematically, intensity level equals L minus L naught. Intensity level equals log I minus log I naught. Intensity level equals log I divided by I naught, decibel, bell. The unit of intensity is bell. If the intensity I of any unknown sound is 10 times greater than I naught, then the intensity level of such sound is called bell. 1 bell equals 10 decibels. Question 11.10. Answer: units. Loudness is always measured in terms of intensity level, therefore, unit of loudness is the unit of intensity level, that is, bell. Loudness can also be measured in watt per square meter as it is related to the intensity. By Weber-Fechner's law, the human ear responds to the intensities ranging from 10⁻⁻12 watt per square meter to more than 1 watt per square meter. The range of intensities is so wide that it is difficult to calculate their intensity levels. Hence, intensities are scaled by factors of 10. In this way, their sound levels can be easily calculated. Question 11.11. Answer: frequency. Frequency is the number of waves passing through a point in unit time, whereas pitch is the characteristics of sound by which we can distinguish between a shrill and grave sound. Pitch depends upon frequency. A higher pitch means a higher frequency. Graphically, the relationship between frequency and pitch of a sound is shown in figure. Question 11.12. Answer: relationship between loudness and amplitude. The loudness depends upon the amplitude of vibration. When the amplitude of vibration increases, then loudness also increases, and vice versa. Relationship between pitch and frequency. The pitch of the sound depends upon frequency. When the frequency of sound increases, then the pitch of sound also increases, and vice versa. Question 11.13. Answer: A. Frequency. If the pitch of sound is increased, then the frequency of sound also increases. B. Wavelength. If the pitch of sound is increased, then the wavelength of the wave decreases. C. Wave velocity. When pitch of the sound is increased, then frequency increases, wavelength decreases, but their product remains constant. That is, V is equal to F lambda, so velocity is constant. D. Amplitude: if the pitch of the sound is increased, then the amplitude of the sound wave remains constant.